Okay, so we are actually at the end of chapter 1 and day number 6. But before we continue there, we just have a question on the floor of Abraham, right? Who were the first Jews after Abraham? Right, so Abraham is considered the patriarch of the Jewish people. Sarah is considered the first matriarch of the Jewish people. And so they had children. Now it's interesting because even though that Abraham had a child with Hagar, right, who was Sarah's stand-in before IVF became available. Whether you do it still in other countries today, right? The poor man's version of IVF was to marry the maidservant and to have a child through that person. So Sarah goes ahead and Sarah gives Hagar, right? Gives Hagar as a wife to Abraham to have a child, and that child turns out to be Yishmael. Right, and so Yishmael at that point in time is not considered a Jew, and even though he was born from Abraham and Hagar and Sarah's standing, right, and so the reason for that is because as long, really the way the person opted in or opted out was if they accepted upon themselves, this is before Mount Sinai, okay, if they accepted to be Jewish, right, they accepted upon themselves, I mean some probably after Mount Sinai, so it wasn't just by birth. After Mount Sinai, even just by birth. Right, if you go ahead and you're born a Jew, right? Nowadays, your mother's Jewish and you're born, even though you have no interest in Judaism, and sadly a lot of people like that today, still at that point in time, you go ahead and you are Jewish, right? You're Jewish anyway. And that became a lock-in from that point in time, right? But before that, it didn't happen, right? Hagar, right? In vitro fertilization, right? To go ahead and to become right part of the Jewish people, you had to opt in. So there's a question because we know that Abraham reached out and converted a lot of people, right? We talked about when he had to go and he had to save Lot. He took with him 318 men, right, that were studying in his yeshiva. Right. So the question is, were they monotheistic? Did he convert them to monotheism, or did he convert them to Judaism? Right, and then if he converted them to Judaism, what happens is we find by the time the Jewish people go down into Egypt, and we find out that it talks about Jacob and his sons going down to Egypt, right, that there's nobody besides Jacob, the immediate family. Right, so really, what happens to those people? Right, and it's therefore some commentators say, well, he didn't convert them to Judaism, just converted them to monotheism, and they're all around. Okay, and so that sort of was where that discussion goes.
Okay.
Okay.
Rebecca.
Rebecca was born to Besuel, right, to Laban's brother. And again, when Eliezer went to get Rebecca, she went ahead and she goes ahead and she opts into the Jewish people. Right, again, so she said, I want to be part of the Jewish people, hence she becomes part of the Jewish people. And not a problem. Right? And that sort of is how it works. It always works with opting in. Right, okay, and accepting upon oneself, right, to be monotheistic and to live according to Torah.
So Lazer is not Jewish.
Who?
Lazer.
Who's Lazer?
Laban. Right, Laban. Okay, right. That's Rebecca's brother, and he's absolutely the farthest thing from Judaism.
So why does he use the term Hashem?
Because he knew that's what Eliezer wanted to hear, and he knew that Isaac was a very rich man. Right, because Abraham, before he sent off Eliezer to get a wife, he transferred all his wealth to Isaac, so Isaac would be the most eligible bachelor. Some TV shows never change, and that way, then when he would show up, that everyone would be running to marry him, right, because right, they have a good and have a good future for their daughter.
So was it really a promissory note that he gave?
It's So the Talmud says he takes all the wealth of his master in his hand.
But he couldn't have all the cattle
and so Talmud says he's traveling 10 camels, all the wealth of Abraham, and his flocks and sheep and land. How did he take all the wealth? So Rashi says that all the wealth in the hand was that Abraham wrote over a note, that a document stating that he transferred all his money over to Isaac.
So that was the first one.
That was the first one. There's a great story. There's a guy who was traveling with a faithful servant, and he goes ahead and he gets to a faraway land and he gets sick and he's dying, and he comes to the rabbi and says, listen, he says, what do I do? And he says, if I it should all go to my son. He said, but my servant, if I die, he's going to take all the money and not give anything to my son. So the rabbi says, no problem. So they go ahead, they write up a will, the person dies. Right, this very wealthy man dies, and they open the will, and the will says, everything is going to my servant, and my son could take only one of my possession. One thing from my possession. Everything else belongs to my servant.
He takes the servant.
So very good. So he goes back home, and the son, he says, the son, listen, he says, your father gave me everything. He said, you could have one thing. And the son is beside himself. And the son goes to his rabbi and says, what did my father do? Right? So the rabbi said, let me tell you what your father did. He made guaranteed that everything would come home. He says you could have one thing that belonged to your father. That one thing that belonged to your father is the servant. And so therefore you have everything. And so that's always what I think of, like that story I always think about when he gave all the good of his master in his hand, so he wrote in the document that everything belongs to Isaac. Okay, right there, one thing. So that was how you did it. Okay. Actually, I remember the first time when I went to high school. So the first Gemara we learned in high school, and learned Gemara before the first high school. The first Gemara we learned was Perek Merub, was the 7th chapter of Bava Kama, and it talks about stealing land. And so I remember, right, we had a discussion: how do you steal land? Right, and so we came up with a few ways. One was through forging some documents, and one is through moving boundaries. Remember but the same thing, right? How do you carry land? You can't carry land, and so that's kind of it. Okay, so we ended off last week, chapter 1, day number 6. Right, we talked about the creation of man. Right, how God goes ahead and creates man. Right, if you turn to page 9, to chapter 1, verse number 27. Right, and really starts from verse 26. Right, verse 26 said, and God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. They shall rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and over the animals, the whole earth, and everything creeping, and every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. So verse 27. So God created man in His image. In the image of God, He created him, male and female. He created them. Right? We talked about that. How did God go about going ahead and creating man? Right? Because it says, so God created man in His image. In the image of God created him, which is singular, and yet male and female He created them. Right? So did He create them? Right? Did He create one? Did He create two? And we talked about that. The Talmud says that originally He went ahead and created man as man and woman. Right? One being, but was man woman. Right? And then when He goes ahead and eventually He separates man woman, He separates woman into her own being, and that way then you have man by himself and woman by themselves, right? And so that way, and the reason why He did that is because really He wants us to recognize that our goal in life is to become one. Right? Go ahead is to merge and to become one. Okay, and to go ahead and to become that one united, right? One united being, right? And what happens is you become that one united being. Right, and so that's finding your soulmate and marrying them, and then you go ahead, you merge, right? You merge your souls and to become one.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you find the soul?
How do you find the soulmate?
How do you that soul is yours? So
how do you find the soul? You talk to that soul nicely, and if she talks back nicely, right, and you have commonalities, right? You have right, you have common goals, right? The most important thing in marriage is common goals. Right, and so you go ahead and you marry them. Oh, they have to be Jewish, by the way, right? Because if you have a Jewish soul, you need a Jewish other half of the soul, right? And then you have a common mission and a common purpose and common goals. And you're a mensch, right? Which means a person you talk nicely and gently, and you learn how to right at that point in time. And you go ahead, you get married, and when you get married, according to Jewish law. But what takes place underneath the chuppah is the two half souls merge and become one soul. Okay, right? They go ahead, they merge and they become one soul. They go ahead and they meld together. Actually, it was interesting. The night that my son got married, right? So underneath the chuppah, right? And so it's and you make the brachas, and then at that point in time, the two souls become one. So really, the whole night is a celebration of the two souls becoming one, right? Of going ahead and emerging together to become one. And that's what it is, right? And so you go ahead and you have them, right, the two halves of the soul merging together to become
So
one.
the ones that marry a non-Jew, what happens?
Yeah, so according to Jewish law, that's not married.
So just basically that.
Well, no, they're right. Yeah.
So Adam had one soul,
Yeah.
and when Eve was created, it was a half of his soul.
Ah, so very good. Yes. So when the original person actually had one soul. When God went and separated Eve's body from him, he separated the soul into a male side, into a female side. Right. And so then what happened was, so Eve took the female side, Adam took the male side, and actually, since then, all of us, right, we all have that soul got split up into many, many, many different little pieces, and each one of us have a little piece of that soul, right? And conglomerately, right, as we get married, and put those halves of the souls back together, then really all those pieces fit into a bigger puzzle, creating back that one soul where they all came from. Yeah.
So you have a woman's soul, you have a man's soul.
Yeah.
They find each other somehow.
Right.
So where does God play in all this picture?
Where does God play in the picture? Because for a man's soul to
How
find.
does, like one from here goes to the other one? From
Right.
here?
So I'll give you an example. To me, it's kind of one of the kind of the cute things. It says, what has God been doing since He created the world? So the Talmud says He's busy making shidduchim. He's busy making matches. Okay, that's what He does. That's what God does. God sits there and makes matches. And the Talmud says that actually that making matches is as hard as splitting of the Reed Sea. Okay, right? So there are many different interpretations how to understand that. Right? There are many different ways. But the answer is, my son found his half of his soul sitting in Passaic, New Jersey, really technically Clifton, New Jersey, right? And God had to now engineer a way that he and Kayla could meet, right? So he had to go ahead. He had to create this kind of like this. Just the whole thing is crazy. He ended the meeting because one of his best friends in Yeshiva got married to a friend of this girl, and they, what do newly married couples do? They sit around and figure which one of their friends they could set up. Right? You know why that is, right? Don't you?
Because they need friends.
Misery loves company. Yeah. Okay. Right. So, right. So they go ahead and that's what they do, and so that's what happened, and it was very interesting. Like he suggested Kayla, and so it was very funny. So we had a whole stack of resumes, right? A whole stack of people, and the girls that were suggested, and we kind of going through. We told my son, go ask your friend why you think this is a good idea. So his friend sent back one of the best emails ever. I should go find it. We should probably put it in the beginning of the book. She has this, which is what you want. She has this, which is what you need. This is what you want, and this what you need. And then to kick it off, and he ends off. And my wife says she's pretty. Right, because this friend is a very what's called adel. He's just very, very sweet. And he goes at it and he says, he goes in, she's very pretty, and so what I'm so we go through the things, and actually that to us seemed to be the, at the end we were down to two Kaylas, both from Passaic, living 5 blocks away from each other. I didn't know each other. So we knew he was marrying Kayla from Passaic. We just didn't know which one. And so my wife thought that Kayla would be more. Be more befitting, right? That it was a better match, and that's what we went out with, and yalla, we got a wedding. So, right, but how does God get somebody from Passaic to find somebody from Dallas, right? And right, like this whole thing all squared away. How does he do that? How does God do that? The answer is so that's what God's busy doing. He's busy setting up the matches. That's exactly what God is doing, right? Setting up matches and kind of making sure that they get together. And
not just making Jewish matches, is making matches for everybody in the world.
It's interesting, right? So it seems for everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah. Now the problem is some people forget to read their script, right? And so they go ahead and they because what happens, God, if you actually stop and think about it, finding your marriage, your person you're going to marry is something that is so hard because you have two babies that are born, and each are going on their own individual journey. Right? And they're all on their own individual journey, and God has to make it that they just cross paths just at the right time when they're at the right place. Right? And so now they need to go ahead. Now they need to right, and right, because if somebody is right, if somebody isn't as good, I guess use the good, right, as they should be. So when when they cross paths with the other person, they're in different places, and then nobody's going to say yes. And so God has to get them that they cross paths just at the right time, just at the right place, and bang, right, they go ahead, and that's when they go and they say yes. Right? So kind of it's a very, very it's a very tricky thing, actually, and to me it's amazing that so many people do get married, right? That so many people manage to find their mate, and so it just kind of is quite an incredible to me, and just watching it, just how God makes it all play out is just kind of quite incredible. Tell you a question.
Yeah, we have half souls, and on the Sabbath we get a second soul. Are we getting a second half soul?
No. So we get another piece of our soul. We get access to another section of our soul. Right? Why do you get a double soul on Shabbos?
Because Shabbos is a bride.
Now, so why do you get a second soul?
Isn't it supposed to feel closer to God?
The answer, because the Sabbath is such a holy day, is that one soul can't absorb it all. So we need to get our second soul so we could absorb all the holiness of the day. And that's why we get a second soul.
Is it always a good soul?
Yeah, well, if it's probably doubling of our existing soul that we have.
So that's open the question.
Was that politically correct the way I answered that? Was that good? That was very smooth. I didn't want to. I'm not saying that.
You go out of that one.
Yeah.
So when a couple journey finishes, what happens to the soul?
Oh, so maybe this is when the couples finish journey. When they finish the journey, their souls move on to the next world.
And then they come back and meet again?
No. They if they come back in their journey, if they complete their journey, they go straight to heaven. That's actually why it's quite interesting. There's actually a couple Torah portions ago when Abraham discovered the cave of Machpelah, right, the place where Adam and Eve were buried, and where eventually he and Sarah got buried, right. So it says when he found it when the three angels came to visit Abraham, and one of the calves ran away. He ran after the calf, and the calf led him into the cave, and he found Adam and Eve. He said he found Adam and Eve lying in each other's arms. And the Talmud says, right, lying in each other's arms, and there was a candle lit. Right? But that idea is that they had completed their mission. Right? That they had their souls, they had completely merged the two souls into one. And so that's it. So now the soul then goes and continues on to heaven, right? Just absorbing, right, the holiness from God.
And they bring the child as a different soul.
Correct.
Would I be in error by thinking God made a mistake in my prior marriage?
Yes.
Okay.
Because remember the two rules.
God doesn't make
Rule number one, God doesn't make a mistake. Rule number two, if you think God makes a mistake, right, bring in rule number one. So I'm going to explain to you something quite fascinating. It's actually a verse in Torah.
God didn't make a mistake, he made a mistake.
Right. And the verse says, Shiches lo. And it's a verse in Ha'azinu. It says the incorrectness is not God's. Banav Mumav, his children are the problem. Right, is where our free will comes. And the Talmud actually has a fascinating idea. The Talmud says that there are not two people that walk down the aisle. Okay, and two people that don't walk down the aisle, that God does not want them walking down. Right, and then we each have our free will, what we do with it. Right, but we go ahead and it's and our job then is to make sure that we make the right decision, right, the right decisions. And as we talked about actually in learner services past Shabbos, right, is that first comes marriage, then comes love. Right? Meaning that America has it backwards. It says first comes love, then comes marriage. Right? First comes marriage, then comes love. Right? True love is something that comes, that goes ahead and is true love is something that develops and takes a long time. Right? Means you could love somebody, you could appreciate them, right? But the longer you're together with somebody, right, the more you go ahead, and the more you appreciate them, and the deeper your love comes from them. And so love is not something. But in America, we generally go ahead, we mix up love and infatuation, or love and lust, right? Right? Love is not lust, right? Love is gaining a deep appreciation, right, for the other person, and that's why it's actually fascinating. You should know, right? I tell you, the Torah is called, right? This book is called the Book of Pleasure, right? It's called the Book of Pleasure, right? This book is meant to tell you how to get the greatest pleasure in life. Okay, right? Which means, right, that if you think something different than what the Torah says you should do, that means that you're missing the boat on what pleasure is. Okay, you following? Okay, so what happens is so then at that point in time, right, somebody said to me, "Come on, Rabbi, and be married to the same person, one person, the entire life." You know, he says, when I eat food, sometimes I like tangy food, sometimes I like spicy food, sometimes I like, all sorts of different types of food. So that's the way I'd like it. So sometimes I'd like a wife that's like this, or a girlfriend, or or a partner that's like this, and sometimes a partner like this, and sometimes a partner like this. Right? He says, so what do you tell me? I have to be married to the same person? I can't sleep around, right? Like, what's going on over here? Right? And yet the Torah says you shouldn't do that. You're not allowed to do that. It's forbidden to do that. Right? So the Torah is teaching you an amazing idea. Listen to this. This idea is something so amazing. See, what happens is if you go ahead and you just keep on switching partners. So what happens? So you're staying right here. It's not even love, but whatever it is, right? You just, right? So, but each one is you're just over here. When you invest in one person, the more you invest, the love grows exponentially. Right? So it's not 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. It's 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. And what happens is your love becomes something incredible. So meanwhile, right, and what happens is that as you go along, the other person says, "Oh, I'm busy sleeping around." What happens is that they're still at the bottom of the level, and so God says, "Don't do that." Even though He says, "Well, it sounds like a good idea, right? That sounds right, right? Like, wow, how brilliant is that?" And the answer is, no. You're making a mistake, because you'll never get to true love, and true love is worth all that little pleasure that you have down here. You're selling yourself down a road of non-pleasure, because this pleasure compared to this love that you could really have there's no comparison, right? And that's really what the Torah is driving at. And the Torah tells you is don't get caught up, right, in the little pleasures over here, because that's the rabbit trail. That's taking you down. That's going to take you down into not a pleasurable existence. You want something real pleasure? Well, that's real love. And real love takes time to develop. And it's taking that one person, and it's putting your efforts into that one person, and that way then you're creating this, when you go geometric, whatever level of love that goes ahead and grows. Okay, that's what happens when you go ahead and you go through life, right? Is to make sure that you go ahead and you don't lose that love, right? Is that, and really you work on it and invest in it, and the more you invest, the more you get back, the bigger your returns, and that's really what it's all about, right? And right, the world has such a sick idea of what it is. It's just really sad.
So the more you study, your existence doesn't really count. It's your soul that really counts.
That is your existence. See, before you came into my class, you see, I'm going to tell you something, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. Tell me if this statement is true. I am full. 2 statements. I am full, and I have a soul.
I am what?
I am full. Like you just ate supper, or if you didn't eat supper, I am hungry.
Yeah.
Right? And I have a soul.
Which statement's true?
Yeah. Both of them true.
Both of them.
Both are true. Both are false. Okay, you are not full. Your body is full. You don't have a soul. You are a soul. You following? Meaning you spend your entire life. You see what happens is you spend your life. You first get taught that you're your body. It's all about the body pleasures, right? Right. You're a baby. Right. You go through this whole thing. You're all about the body, and then you spend the rest of your life trying to unlearn it. That you're not about your body. You're about your soul. And your job is to go ahead and to get your soul and to turn your soul into something that is truly a godly thing.
You know, it follows it when you ever hear of emergencies on an airplane or a ship, they never talk about people. They always talk about there are so many souls aboard.
Mm-hmm. Interesting, right? I mean that it's very true. You know, and people we just need to remember that. Right? We spend our whole life, right? The problem is we spend a lot of our life focusing on our body, not focusing on our soul. And it's learning how to focus on our soul, not our body, in the sense that we are a soul, not a body.
So we're actually our soul.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
In a body.
In a body.
In a body.
In a body, right? And then that's what I told. I'll give you a little homework to do, which is kind of really the cool. Yeah, okay, I'm explaining it to you. Something really cool. Everything in Hebrew, right? When it says it, right? When it says it, it defines what it is. Okay, so for example, right? Very interesting. What are your ears called in Hebrew? Anyone know what your ears are called? Ozen. Very good. You know what the word ozen means, or oznaim?
Balance.
What?
Balance.
Balance. Very good. Right, Moznaim is balance, right? Scales, right? Balance. Why are your ears
So
called
how
balance?
do they know about the inner ear?
You think they were stupid people back then?
No.
Well, God made us, and so He gave us the name. So our ears are called Oznaim. Why? Because our ears control our balance. Okay. Now, next one. What are our eyes called? Ayin, or Einayim, right? Our eyes, right? Ayin is singular, Einayim is eyes. Okay, now let me ask you all a question. What does the word ayin mean?
The mind.
What?
The mind.
No. So the word ayin comes from the Hebrew word ma'ayan. What is a ma'ayan? Ma'ayan is a wellspring. It's the source of water, right? It's a source where the water comes out of the ground. A nahar is a river. A ma'ayan is a spring, right? It's where the water comes out of the ground. Why are your eyes called an ayin? Because they are the source of your soul. Right? That's always the English expression. I looked him straight in the eye, right? And I saw into his soul. Right? The eyes are the window to the soul. That's a Jewish idea. Okay? And I'll give you just a cute little exercise to do tonight. Okay? It's a very very powerful. Right? Go ahead and look into your spouse's eyes. Okay? And what you do is imagine your spouse as being the eyes and nothing else. Means peel away the rest of the body. Okay? Meaning, right, the rest of the body, just like we don't look at clothing and say that that's my spouse, right? So too, the body, the physical body, is nothing more but clothing to the soul. Now, what is the soul? The soul is really, right? The body is a clothing to the soul. So nobody is their body. Right? We're really our soul. And who is our soul? Our soul is out in our eyes. Right? And look at the person. It's an extreme, oh my gosh. Okay? Do it like for a minute. It's an extremely powerful experience to do. Right? Look at them, look them in the eyes. Right, and kind of just peel away all the physicality of who they are, right, and look at them, right. That is what the soul is. It's just kind of a very very powerful thing. But that's this idea that we are, that our body is just a clothing to the soul.
So the only thing which reflects the soul actually in all our appearance is the eyes.
Right, exactly. Nothing else.
Eyes.
Right, and even the eyes are physical, right? But that's at least where the soul resides.
So the Zohar says the eyes are portal to the soul.
That's exactly what it is. Right? That's exactly what it is.
It's not more question.
And by the way, just in American society knows that, right? How do you show a zombie?
The eyes.
The eyes are rolled up in the back of the head, right? Because you know that the eyes are right. So right, the eyes are the right, but that's why the eyes are called the ayim, and so they're called ayim because they're the source of the soul. Yeah.
When I eat chicken or beef, I'm eating another soul.
No. So when you slaughter the animal, the soul is gone from that. So you're not. Right, it's not that part of that. And in the chicken and beef, they only have an animal soul, which is sort of just like the battery. You take the battery out; it's not a soul that we have, right? Because animals are not humans, contrary to some people's popular beliefs, right? Animals are animals, right? And humans are humans.
But if I eat a chicken that's walking, I'm making
That's very interesting, right? If you eat chicken that's walking, absolutely, right? And it's actually fascinating. That's probably why one of the 7 Noahide laws is eating a limb from a live animal. Right? You can't eat a limb from a live animal. Even a non-Jew can't do that. A non-Jew has to shoot it before it would kill it before he eats from it, right? Because otherwise it would be a soul, right? And so therefore you have to go ahead. You have to get rid of it. Yeah.
God bless them.
On that note, in certain parts of Asia, it's very common to eat animals alive.
Right.
And they're some of the most intelligent, healthy, beautiful people. So
right.
What's
So
their curse?
no. So it's fascinating. It's a fascinating thing. It's that as human beings have become more, I don't want to say debased, but have become more physical and more physical and more physical, right? They just have sunk to lower and lower levels, right? And have lost the whole concept of a soul and the greatness of a soul and the potential of what a soul can be. And that's really our job, is to go ahead and to get back to the place of elevating, getting to a place of greatness, and it's telling you the tale of the world. Okay, so it goes ahead and so male and female are created. Then right, you just start off as one, then it's split into two, and in the beginning of chapter 2, when we go back to the story of this, we'll talk a lot more about marriage. Okay, verse number 28. Peter, you want to read?
Certainly. God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, the bird of the sky, and every living thing that moves on the earth."
Okay, so what does God tell them at this point in time? What's their job?
Be fruitful and multiply.
Fruitful and multiply, okay? Very important. First commandment in the Torah. Be fruitful and multiply. Actually, there are only 3 commandments in the entire book of Genesis. This is the first one. Okay? Be fruitful and multiply. Why does God want us to be fruitful and multiply?
He wants lots of people.
He wants lots of people in the world. Why does God want lots of people in the world?
Give more.
So God could give more, right? Remember, God created the world in order to give to us. Right? God goes ahead, right? Created the world in order to give to us. And so the more people around, the more He can give to us. Right? And so therefore God goes ahead and God says, be fruitful and multiply.
So why does he want to end it?
Oh, no, it's not ended. So He wants to help bring people to the greatest pleasures. What's the greatest pleasures? The Torah, and then eventually relationship with God Himself.
But at the cost of billions of people dying.
What?
At the end of the times, billions of people die.
Hold it. That's it. We get to choose our own ending. Right? Do you ever read those books, choose your own ending? Mm-hmm. As a kid, I used to love reading those books. I started from the ending I wanted and just read backwards. Because I wanted to make sure I got the ending I wanted, so I just kind of had to read backwards. Right? Those books, those are cute little books. I tried to find the one. So you go ahead and right, you choose your own ending. Right? You get to a place of choosing.
Well, like every day right now, the times that we're living in, every day there's a natural catastrophe.
Right. No,
every single day.
No. So there's actually most of it is catastrophe caused by humans, and really, but our job is we go ahead and we have the world, right, goes ahead, and our job is to do good and bring godliness. And when the world is not in sync with God, then the world gets out of control. Right? And it's funny. It's kind of ironic or sad that what we do actually has an effect on the world. The problem is we don't see a direct effect on it between what we do and what happens, and therefore we tend to think that our actions make no difference, when in reality actions make a cosmic difference. Right? And what we do has a cosmic effect on the world. So why are all these things happening? Right? Answer is, well, look at what we're doing. Right? Are we doing what we need to be doing, or are we not doing what we're supposed to be doing? And then at that point in time, that's really what it revolves around, right? What it boils down to, right? Are we doing the right thing or not? Right? And that becomes our job, is to do the right thing, right? To choose to do the right thing. That's what this world is all about, right? Making those right decisions. And so we go ahead and we make those choices.
So can 6 million people change the way the world is when you consider there's like 7 billion people?
So the answer is that actually there are 15 million Jews, and the answer is 15 million Jews can change the entire world. In fact, I'll tell you something fascinating. I'll tell you one Jew can change the world. And in fact, I'll tell you something even more. You are changing the world. Right? When you come to study Torah, right, you spend an hour, 2 hours studying Torah, you have changed the world for better. Right? And Maimonides says a person always has to look at the world that it's at 50-50. It's right there. It's right on the brink. And whichever way you go, right, you will push the world either to make it meritorious or to destroy the world. And your actions make all that difference in the world. And that's really what happens, right? We go ahead and we get to a place of where, right, we go ahead and we do change the world.
Wasn't
right?
it Maimonides who said, you save a single soul, you save the world?
Yeah, it goes from the top, right? And where does that come from? That comes from that. That's why God created one human being. Because God created the world for one human being. So God created the entire world, entire ecosystem, billions and billions of animals. For what purpose? For one human being. And who is that one human being? Me. Right. I'm the purpose of the world. Right. And really, if a person truly understands the amazing effect that a person can have on this world, right, and really what he does, he would never ever, it would change his whole life, right? Because if oh my gosh, I could destroy. It's like the two buttons: destroy or build. And what I do makes that difference. And it's fascinating because in our own world we do that as well. We either leave behind us a trail of destruction, or we leave behind us a trail of goodness. And who's that choice dependent on? It's me. I make those choices.
But you must remember you're also dust and ash.
Right. You right, again, at the end of the day, but God gave us the cosmic power, right, to change an entire world. Right? It's a fascinating idea. Right? The ability that we have, right, and the ability that we have and what we do with it, it's an amazing idea.
Just for example, before I came here, there was a car next to me.
Mm-hmm.
The guy batteries died. So I took up a jumper cable and I gave him a charge and
Mm-hmm.
so am I required to help him, or can I just walk away?
The answer is that you have an opportunity to do a mitzvah, grab it. Now grab it with two hands. You achieved eternity by jumping his car. What did you give him? A little power. What did you get in return? Eternity. Sounds like a good deal to me. Sign me up. Right? I'm in. If you don't want to do it, call me. Right? Because what happens, right? Because I go ahead and do that, I'm picking up eternity. Right? You should understand. I'm going to tell you something. You know how much God loves us? He loves us so much. Let me tell you what he did. Okay? So how do we achieve this eternity? How do we achieve this relationship with God? So we go ahead is by picking up all the diamonds. Right? And so what happens is then at that point in time, right, is that you go ahead, it's like they're diamonds. You see a mitzvah's a diamond. Would you stoop to pick down a diamond?
Of course.
You sure? Yeah. Now let's say you got a pocketful, would you
Even
still?
if it hurts us.
Right. Would you do that? Right? So you go ahead, right? You go ahead and you would, right, you'd stoop to bend down and pick up a diamond. Right? Why? Because it's a diamond. God took a sack of diamonds and he scattered them all over the entire world. And he emptied them all over the world. Right? And what happens is as we go through life, what are we doing? As we go through life, we have the opportunity to pick up each one of these diamonds. And we have so many mitzvahs that we have that all around us. All we have to do is just open up our eyes and look and just grab them. And we get them by the handful, by the shovelfuls. Right? I never heard somebody complain there are too many diamonds for me to pick up. Have you heard that? No, I never heard that either. Right? Too many diamonds. Rabbi, my back's hurting. I can't pick up a diamond. Right? We never had that, right? And what happens is that You see, what happens is we get sold a bill of goods, and we say, well, diamonds, those aren't the diamonds. What are the real diamonds? Mitzvahs. And you're right, but the world says, you silly people. Yeah, you think mitzvahs? I think money, fame, fortune. That's the real currency. You Jew, you think picking up all those mitzvahs, you think helping jumping the other guy, it's his fault. He didn't have an extra battery, or he was clumsy enough to go out with only one battery. It's his fault. Let him die. Let him do his own thing.
Suffer.
Right. And we say it's an opportunity. Now we go through life and we have these opportunities to pick up mitzvahs. Right, to go in incredible, and that's what we have a world full of mitzvahs at our disposal, right? And we have to be smart enough to just go ahead and pick them up.
Well, Christians also do these mitzvahs.
Of
They'll
course.
help you.
Now, let me tell you something. Being godly is not a lot that the Jewish people have. Everyone in this world could be godly. Everyone in this world cannot be godly.
There are certain mitzvahs that only Jews can do.
The Jews, what happens is we have committed, right, and taken the responsibility for the world. Hence, we have a special package that only we have. Now, let's say somebody says, "Well, I want to join the club." So, what do we say? Welcome aboard, right? Come and join the club.
Suffer for 3 years, you will make it.
Right. But go ahead. You're welcome to join the club, right? That's exactly what happens. Come join the club. Not a problem. Okay. So God says, "Be fruitful and multiply." Rule number 1: our job is to be fruitful and multiply. Our job is to fill up the world with little children running around, and hopefully, right, raise them to be big children, right, or big adults, I guess. Right, to go ahead, right, our job is, right, to be fruitful and multiply, fill up the world. God says, "I did not create the world to be empty." God says, "I want the world to be full with people." Now, what about the people that say the world is going to run out of food? God will provide. And I wanted, and one little example I show, 1900. The 1900, okay, so 117 years ago. How much of American farmland was being farmed? 96%. 96% of American farmland was being farmed. Okay, yep. How many people were in the world in 1900?
5 billion,
I think,
maybe?
how many?
Maybe 5 billion?
No. Well, yeah, I think 1.2 billion. I think, okay? That's all. 1900, that's all there was around. Right? You could Google it. It's I think it's 1.2 billion.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like
So
that.
how we grow so fast?
How do we grow so we can answer is because, right, is that you go ahead and write today, how many people are there in the world?
7.6 billion.
7.6 billion. How much of American farmland is being farmed now?
4%.
4%. And we produce so much food, we're dumping half of it into the ocean in order to make sure that the price control stays there. Right? And right, you take a look, don't worry about the world running out of food. Right? The more people will be in the world, the more advances we will have in the world. Right? It's quite a fascinating thing. Right? It's just truly something just truly amazing. Right? And so that really is, don't worry about the world running out of food. So be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. What does that mean, fill the earth and subdue it? The answer is, and subdue it, rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and every living thing that moves on the earth. We are required to take care of the earth.
Right.
God has given us an earth, and has given us a planet. Our job is to make sure to take care of it, to make sure that it is taken care of.
You must be good
Right.
husbands of the land.
What?
Good husbands of the land.
Right. Now we have to go ahead and we have to make sure that we use the land properly. Right? That we go ahead and we don't do anything more than necessary. Right? Meaning that we go ahead, we take care of it, right? And we use the resources in the proper way. Right? There's one of the 613 commandments. It's called Bal Tashchis. Bal Tashchis means do not waste. Right? There's a commandment Torah of wasting. Right?
Baal is master.
No. But it's Beis Lamed, not Beis Ayin Lamed.
Oh.
Beis Ayin Lamed is Baal is master. Right?
Okay,
But Baal Tashchis means do not waste.
So,
That we're commanded not to waste, not to waste not to waste things, and it's
What's
everything.
that second word again? How do you spell it?
Tashchis,
Tashlish?
tashchis, tafshin ches yud saf.
Tashlish.
Lahashchis, to not tashlich, tashchis.
Tashchis?
Yeah, to right. Lahashchis means to destroy. Right, don't destroy. Don't waste. Right, don't. Right, now again, if you're doing it for a purpose, then it's not called wasting. Right, then it's called using. And that's so to go ahead and to make you can't destroy the world. God says rule over the world and subdue it. That's our job. And our job is to go ahead and rule over the world, right, and control it and use it for all the good things in this world. Right, that's our job.
So where does the land get its blessing from? Also from Hashem?
The land gets a blessing from God. We are conduits for that blessing. Right? We go ahead and we use it properly and we do the right things with it. Because man, one of the lessons that the Torah teaches us is that man has an effect on the world. We have an effect on people and we have an effect on the world itself. Right? We go ahead, right, and what we do is we go ahead, we can affect, right, what is happening in the world.
So how can
Okay.
you land and dirt and then you add water and there's a plant comes out? I don't get it.
Right, and again, the whole thing is kind of crazy if you actually stop and think about it, right? Because what do? You put a seed in the, like somebody said, Rabbi, who doesn't believe in revival of the dead? He says everything we do is revival of the dead. You take a seed, right? You put it in the ground, right? I mean, it's kind of fascinating. Right? If somebody see you make bread, they would think, right? If a Martian was to land and see how you make bread, they would think you're the craziest person in the world. What do? You take a grain, right, which is good bread, right, good wheat. You put it in the ground. As you put it in the ground, you're burying it, right? What are you doing? And they said, well, I'm not done yet. You take water and you pour water on it. And I says, you nuts, right? You're making it rot. So I said, you just wait. You pour more water, and finally this little green shoot comes up. And the guy says, oh, now I get it. They said, no, we're not done yet. The green shoot comes up. Pour more water and it grows. All of a sudden you have this field of nice green wheat. Then what do?
You cut it down.
You cut it down. I said, what are you doing? You come to it. You destroyed it. It's all brown now. You killed it. Right? And then what do? And they said, well, we're not done yet. So then you take it and then you thresh it. Right? You crush it. And the guy's going, what are you doing? Right? And then when you finish threshing it, they finally thresh it. Then you go ahead, then you winnow it. So then what you do is you throw it up in the air.
Yeah,
right? And okay, now all these, what are you doing? The happen's blown away. And then it's okay. It's like a nice pile of grain. Oh, very nice. Then when you take the pile of grain, what do you do with it?
You mill it.
You mill it, right? No, you have to mill it. You put it into these 2 rocks and you crush it. And you turn it into this white powder. Right. I said, you nuts? You took something and turned it into this white powder. He said, oh, no, we're not done yet. So then you take water and you pour the water into the powder. You turn it into like this, this mush. Right? And he said, what are you doing? He said, no. He says, we're not done yet. What do you do? Then you take it, you make this nice big roaring fire. and you stick it in there. You're burning it. And you pull it out. And he says, okay, now here you are. And he says, everything that is done to produce a loaf of bread is something that is counterintuitive, right, to what is going on. Right? It seems every step of the way you're destroying it, and yet at the end you're producing a beautiful loaf of bread.
So when you're making a challah, you're doing a big mitzvah then?
Yeah, sure.
But you're doing like almost 15 different steps just to make a challah.
Right. And it's absolutely, if you're making for Shabbos.
For
revival of the dead, right? You take something, you rot it, right? Only after it rots, then could it begin to grow, and right, and that's right, and then it's revival of the dead, right? A person's alive, but then you say, well, what's going to happen? Well, okay, there's a process for this in the world, and that's the way of the world. That's how the world works, right? It works going ahead and is just processing all this stuff, right? And then so our job is to rule over the world and subdue it. Our job is to use the world for its best purpose. That's our job. Right? That's what the purpose of this world is all about. And go ahead and using it and creating those things. Yeah.
Rabbi, when we say amoti with blessing, and then we don't say dirt for the food, but we say who brought
bread,
grain from
lechem menhard, bread from the ground.
Oh, from the ground. Okay,
Yeah.
so can you explain that? bread from the ground.
Bread from the ground. Okay.
You just did.
Okay. Right. Right.
He
So.
just told you the whole process. What more do you want?
Right. So I'll tell you something fascinating. Where does that blessing come from? So the blessing comes from like this. It's quite fascinating. So there are two places where it comes from. It's just crazy. Okay. The first one is it comes from because when the Jewish people were in the desert, right, when they left Egypt, so what did God feed them? What? Manna from heaven. Right? Okay, manna from heaven. So what blessing did they make when the manna from heaven came?
Blessing from
Hamotzi lechem min hashamayim. And it brought out bread from the sky. Right? Because that's what happened. So when they got to the land of Israel, all of a sudden now it switched. And now, right, so they kept the same, right, they kept the same blessing, but instead of from the heavens, it's from the earth. But now I'm going to tell you something that is really super cool.
Not gonna blow our minds.
It will. It's kind of very cool. Okay? So, where did bread in the Garden of Eden grow from?
Bread in the Garden of Eden?
Did they even have a bread?
What?
Did they even have a bread?
Sure did.
I mean, they did hamutzi and everything else?
What?
They did hamutzi and everything else?
Of course they. What do you think they were eating?
Bread tree.
They had a bread tree. How do you know that? It's very simple. When man gets cursed and gets thrown out of the garden, what's the curse that God gives them? By the sweat of your brow shall you eat bread. Which meant before the curse, they didn't have to sweat for it, right? It came straight out. Piping hot out of the ground.
Yeah, wow.
Right? So the bracha. So what blessing did they make in the Garden of Eden on bread?
No blessing.
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We brought out bread from the ground because that's how bread used to grow. Right now we got off the reservation, right? We got thrown out of the garden. We messed up, so now we got to work for the bread. But they already had the blessing for bread, which was bringing bread out of the ground. So now just there's a few more steps along the way to get the bread. You know what I'm saying? Right, but that's why they made the blessing of hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
So how could Adam with this much wisdom make a stupid mistake?
Okay. You read it to chapter 3. We're in chapter 1. We're trying to get to chapter 2 tonight. But we're going to talk all about that. Okay?
Why would Adam and Eve say the blessing?
Why? Okay, so let me tell you something fascinating. God provides everything in this world. What do you have to do before you can use it?
Say a prayer.
Say a prayer. Why do you have to say a prayer?
Appreciation.
Appreciation. Say thank you to God.
Thank you. Yeah.
Right? Is it nice for me to just come over and grab your pen? Or do I say, can I please have your pen? Please have your pen. Right? What would happen if you would see your kid walking over somebody just grabbing something and not saying please or thank you?
Thank you.
You'd smack them. Well, not anymore. Right? You go ahead and you write in the olden days, the good olden days, right? What would you say?
Give a lecture about something.
Right? Give a lecture about how you be a mensch. So why is God any different? Does it not make sense that we should have to say please and thank you to God?
It does, but
So how do you say please to God?
a blessing. But Adam and Eve, did they have a concept of a God?
Of course, sure. They were prophet and prophetesses. Their concept of God was way beyond anything we can ever imagine.
Okay.
Right, and so you first you say please and then you say thank you. How do you say please? Is by making a blessing. You say please, and afterwards you say thank you. Right, it's very simple. Right, and I'll tell you something
You once said that if you don't say a blessing before you eat something, it's like stealing from God.
Correct, right? Because it's God's.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something very, very, very cool. Okay, before you make a blessing, we say the food is forbidden. After you make a blessing, the food becomes permitted. Okay? How do you say forbidden in Hebrew?
Wait.
The food is usr. Right? You can't have it. It's usr, it's forbidden.
Awesome.
Right, usr. How do you say the food is permitted? It's mutar. Okay? Now listen to this. Kabbalistically, right? When the water, you get water, right? So the water is spiritually connected. It's spiritual sources from the heaven. So it's tied to heaven.
Yeah.
So before you make the blessing, it is forbidden, or otherwise called asur. Do you know what the actually literal translation of the word asur means?
What?
It means tied.
Tithe?
Tied.
Tithe?
Tied, like with a knot. Right? Before you make a blessing, the food is tied to heaven. When you make the blessing, the food becomes mutar. You know what the word mutar really means?
Mutar?
Yeah. We said every morning, we say matir asurim. God, you are somebody who is matir asurim, who unties the bound. The word mutar means it becomes untied. Right? We feel permitted. How does it become untied? It becomes untied because you made a blessing on it. And now it untied from its spiritual source in heaven, and now becomes permissible for you to eat.
So when we say untie the bound, what
Untie the bound means that when you go to sleep at night, like your bones get all scrunched up, and then Matusum, God makes it that you could stretch and you could get up and you could move around. Some of us, a little arthritis, kind of little, like, okay, right? A little slower, right? But he's matir asurim, right? There's no way you make that blessing. When you start getting arthritis, you really have kavanah, and you really have concentration when you make that blessing, right? God, you are matir asurim, right? You untied the bound, right? You're going ahead and you're untying the bound. That's what you're doing. And that's why it's tied and it's untied. How do we untie it? By saying, please God, can I have it? And that's what blessings are. Blessings are just saying, God, can I please have it? Right? And it's fascinating, right? Because that's what God wants from us. God wants us to have all the good things. What's the problem? That we forget about it. So we have to make a blessing to thank God for each of those things. And that's why it becomes permitted and forbidden. Okay, good. So we're matir asurim, right? We untie the bound. Okay, so it's mutar. So God created everything, told man, right? You're in charge, right? Rule over it. Right, we fill the earth, right, and fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, right, the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, everything that moves on the earth, right. At that point in time, right, our job is to use everything, right, in the creation, right, in the purpose. For what purpose?
To bless Hashem.
Right, to sanctify God's name. Right, our job is to use everything in this world to go ahead and to use it, right, to sanctify God's name. Right, that's our job. Right, that's why we have it. Right, it's to use this thing to go ahead and to create this relationship with God. That's what it's there for. Right, and if we want to use it for something else,
Not necessarily good.
right. So then we're stealing from God. Right, and we're using resources that we don't have right to. Right, because God put it there for us to be able to use it as a way to come closer to God, not as a way to push us away from God. Right, and that's our job is to go ahead and to use everything in this world as a means to go ahead and to create a relationship with God.
But
To
there
make it holy.
Right, to make.
But there are people that they want to destroy everything, like ISIS.
Yeah. Right. So that's evil.
And based on they think
They think they're doing good, right? That's the sad part. Is that, but that's what we call evil, right? That's what we
We're
call.
going to get to that with the tree of
Well, but that's evil, right? That's what we call is evil,
So God said,
right? So that's our job. Okay, verse number 29. Scott, you want to read?
God said, "Behold, I have given to you all herbage yielding seed that is on the surface of the entire earth, and every tree that has seed yielding fruit, it shall be yours for food. And to every beast of the earth, to every bird of the sky, and to everything that moves on the earth, within which there is a living soul, every green herb is for food." And it was so.
Okay, good. So what is God? God goes ahead and gives us our menu. What's our menu?
fruits, and herbage is vegetables.
Seed yielding fruit.
Okay, seed yielding fruits, right? So we have fruits and vegetables. And what do animals get on their diet?
Also,
Vegetables.
thing.
Fruit and
Green herbs.
Make it vegetable.
Okay, so okay. Are animals allowed to eat fruits?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
yes.
Okay, can you show me where it says that?
Doesn't say they can't.
Well, what does it say? What can human beings eat?
Seed yielding fruit.
Seed yielding fruit,
And
seed,
herbage.
and
Herbage.
right herbs
Yes.
and fruit, right? So some human being can eat, right?
What about fruit that doesn't yield seed?
Like what?
Banana.
The bananas. So it's a fruit. But that's the question: whether it's a fruit or a vegetable. But yes, any vegetable. Man, human beings can eat a vegetable and a fruit. Animals are allowed to eat.
Every green herb is for food.
Okay, only green herbs, right? Animals can only eat, right? Can only eat vegetables. Why can't they eat fruit?
Because it doesn't say they can eat them.
But why doesn't God give them that on their menu?
That's for us.
Very good. That's for humans. And don't ever forget, a human being is not an animal, and an animal is not a human being. And the world has a little difficulty with this. Animals are not humans.
So
Animals are animals.
But
not
humans are animals.
What?
Humans are animals.
No, don't insult the animals.
Very good.
It's
Yes, I like that one.
Mike, you should know. Okay, like this. This is very important. Okay, what's greater, animals or angels? Angels. That is incorrect.
Good.
Right? Why? Because both animals and both angels have no free will.
So they're both basically the same.
They're both robots. One's a spiritual robot. One's a physical robot.
I see.
Right? 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 That's right. That's all. Right? They just do what God tells them. They're programmed. Right? They're a drone.
But God still asked them, hey, should we make these folks? He asked the robots.
Very good. Yes. Okay. No. Okay. That's good. That's a good question. But yes, he did. And so he goes ahead. Right. And so we have. When he goes ahead. Right. And what about human beings? So human beings have the potential to be greater than angels and lower than animals. Right? And that depends on how we act. That depends on what we do.
What about animals that eat fruit?
Like well, it'd be fascinating. After Noah, right? When Noah goes ahead and right, Noah, he said, "The question: what about animals? Could we eat animals?"
No, but there are animals that only eat fruit.
Not in the Garden of Eden.
Oh, okay.
Okay, right. Okay. That's what I'm saying. Not up till the flood. Up to the flood, all animals ate was vegetables. Human beings ate vegetables and fruits.
What about fish?
No, you cannot eat fish. It's not on the menu plan.
Not on the diet.
It's not on the menu plan.
And then guess what? They
What did fish eat? Fish ate plankton, vegetables. Right, vegetables. No food for them either.
No fruit for a fish.
Now let me ask you a question. Could human beings eat animals?
No,
Not there.
Now, could human beings eat animals?
Not in the garden.
Okay.
Only if it was killed for fur.
So the answer is like this. From Noah and on, okay, so in year 1657 and on, okay, mankind at that point, since mankind saved animals, and at that point in time, mankind was allowed to kill animals for meat. Up till that time, up to that point, okay, up to that point, human beings were not allowed to kill animals to eat. But let's say they found roadkill
Yes.
in the Garden of Eden.
Someone ran over it with their 18.
Yeah, right. That's the thing, like ATVing, you know. And they're busy ATVing in all-terrain vehicles in the garden, right? Going around, they right those right, and they ran over an animal.
Yeah.
You allowed to eat the meat?
If it was kosher, yeah.
Right.
I don't think they even died. The animals didn't die, did they?
Well, once again, right, we lasted in the garden for all of 24, 36 hours. So, right. So, but when we were kicked out, right? When we kicked out till Noah, was human beings allowed to eat animals? Were they allowed to eat animals? Roadkill?
Yes.
Yes. So okay. Then again, Rashi says yes. So we're following Rashi's opinion. Right? Is that
She says it, that's
Rashi says it, okay? Right, there's a big discussion about it. I'm telling you what Rashi says. Okay, right? We just follow right behind Rashi. We walk in lockstep with Rashi. Okay, we get to heaven and they say, you get to choose who to stick with. Just stick with Rashi. Like, yeah, it's like, okay. Okay, yeah, that's what we want to.
I want to be in the Rashi section.
I want to be in the Rashi section, right? I want to be in the Rashi section, right? So what happens is, right? Rashi says, right, that before the flood, human beings were allowed to eat roadkill. Okay, we're not allowed to kill an animal. We're not allowed to kill an animal, but we were allowed to. An animal died. We were allowed to eat the meat, right, from that animal. Right?
But you could kill it for fur.
Yeah,
Or
right.
leather, you know.
Again, once we got kicked out of the garden, right, okay. But for eating,
But
right,
in
but
the
for
garden,
eating,
they didn't have to do that.
right, in the garden they didn't have to do that. In the
They
garden,
didn't need clothing.
They didn't need
Right.
clothing.
At what point did the animal have to be kosher before we can eat it?
at what point they don't have to be kosher.
We can't eat roadkill now.
Right,
Even if it's a
right.
chicken,
No, right.
it's got to be killed right.
Slaughtered properly. So that took place after Noah.
After, okay.
Right, and again, really, it's interesting, right? So you had to
Kosher
kill
came
it.
from Abraham, right?
That really, the laws of slaughtering requirement came at Mount Sinai, right?
Oh.
Okay, but before that, remember the patriarchs they all kept kosher, so they actually slaughtered it properly as well.
Yeah.
So,
And it didn't have
so when do you start making tefillin?
They stopped making
Tefillin.
tefillin. Adam wore tefillin right away in the Garden of Eden.
Sure.
He knew how to. He
Of
must
course.
slaughter a cow.
Right. But again, because to slaughter it for an offering or something that you need for a mitzvah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course he did. Right, and so you go ahead and right, so you have right. So we're told over here, human beings are given vegetables and fruit. Right, animals were only given vegetables, and roadkill they were allowed to eat. Okay, verse number 31. Very important.
God saw.
Okay, go ahead.
God saw that all he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening and there was morning the sixth day.
Okay, folks, so don't turn the page. Don't turn the page. Not so fast. Not so fast. Not so fast. Okay. Yeah, you thought you were going to get to turn the page today. Okay, we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see how good you guys do. Okay. And God saw all that he had made, and behold, it was very good. How did he end off every other day?
It was good.
It was good. And what does it say it was today?
Very good.
Why is it very good today?
Because he created man.
It's a rock.
Says the Talmud. One of the most incredible lines. You ready to get your world shaken up?
Yeah.
It was very good. Good is the world. Very good is the evil inclination.
How did he get to that?
Oh. Okay. It was good was man. It was very good. That's the evil inclination.
Well, didn't he also say? Did he also say on Thursday when he was making the world, Thursday was very good?
It was good.
Good.
And on Wednesday he said it was good. And on Tuesday he said it was good twice, right? Once when he finished the water, once when he finished with the earth. On day one, when he finished with the light and darkness, he said, and it was good. Man, he says it was good, 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 good. And now on day 6 it says it was very good. Why is it very good? Because he created the evil inclination. Now, I don't know about you all, but when I read this, I kind of flipped out. Right? I mean, if I would think very good, so Taylor would have said, what you said, he created man, right? He created man, right? He created, right? This is very good. Or he kind of almost finished the creation of the world, right? It's very good. Right? But Thomas said, no. It was very good was the evil inclination. So why is it very good that he created the evil inclination?
Free will.
Oh, very good. Is that the purpose of man is that we have free will. We get to choose to do what we want. We get what we call free will decisions. Right? Our life, right, is made up of our free will decisions. Right? We go through life and we're busy making free will decisions. How we act, what we do, what we eat, right? All those things are what we call free will decisions.
Okay, but how is that changing to an evil inclination?
So like this. So let me ask you the following question. How is it possible to not listen to God?
Not really. If you don't have the evil inclination.
No. How is it possible not to listen to God?
It's possible.
Really? God says, Cher, I want you to do this. Would you say no?
No.
No.
To God? Of
Yeah,
course
would you
not.
say, of course?
No, I wouldn't.
Of course not. So that's my question. How can you not listen to God?
You can't.
That- right? Of course, right? Of course, you're going to listen to God.
Why do you ask us questions like that? We're having
Okay.
hard enough time here.
Right? But now I got a question for you. Yet we all know when we go through life, and sometimes we don't listen to God.
Right.
How could that be?
It's a mistake.
The free will. The free will.
Free will. And
Will
it's a
make
very
the
good.
bad choice.
So who?
The evil inclination.
So who is sitting there saying, "Oh, come over here. Let me show you what to do."
Bad side.
Right, the mad scientist, right? I'm gonna get you, right? You know what I'm saying, right?
The Nevilles of the world.
Right. So right.
Devils, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The
Devils.
novels of the world, right? So who's got what causes a person not to listen to God?
Evil inclination.
The answer is the evil inclination. So if we lived in a world with no evil inclination, we would not have free will,
Exactly.
because there'd be no way that we wouldn't listen to God. So
we
in order for a human being to have free will, in order for a human being to choose, right, to be able to have a choice on what he does or what he doesn't do, right, and he goes ahead and all those things, right, those choices that he has, there needs to be an evil inclination. If there's no evil inclination,
Then there's no choice.
we have no choice. We have no free will.
Sure.
And the purpose of man is free will.
So this concept of tov me'od, as opposed to me'od me'od, which appears elsewhere when it's really good.
But no.
No, there's
Tov
no
me'od?
difference.
What do you mean ma'od
Well,
ma'od?
there, and I can't tell you the specific quote, but there are places where there's a place, at least once, where it's used in a double, me'od me'od.
Right, okay, so I have to remember where
And
that
I
was.
just can't remember. It's in. I think it's in Deuteronomy, but I can't give you the specific quote. But it's meaning it's really really good.
So usually it's tov, right? Again, here it's tov, and now it's tov ma'od. Very good. Actually, it comes in. Oh no, B'nei it's right, but when the spies, when they get told they can't go in the land of Israel, and then that's in the land is very good, right? I have to take a look at what it says, what the exact expression that it says there, right? Okay, so now,
Just one.
yeah.
So we are born with evil inclination inside of us.
So very interesting. Okay.
And then if we are born with the evil inclination inside of us, but he made the man before the sixth day. He made the man in the third day.
No, you made man on the sixth day.
Sixth day?
Yeah. The evil inclination is inside of us. Okay, when we are born, the Talmud says a person gets the evil inclination from when the baby begins to stir and move out of the mother's womb.
So we all have different DNA.
That's when we get the evil inclination.
So that's at birth.
At birth, right? That's when we get the evil inclination. When do we get our Yetzer Tov? When do we get the good inclination?
Inception.
Yetzer Tov.
That's your soul.
Day 40,
No.
right?
What?
Day 40 of after conception.
No. That's when you get your soul. Right? Your soul comes into the body at day 40 after conception. Okay? Right? When do you get...
comes into the already while the child is in the womb.
Yeah, sure. Right? That's why it's actually quite fascinating. When does life start?
So I thought the soul comes at the moment of the birth.
No.
No.
When does life start?
At conception.
40th day.
So life starts when the soul comes connected to the body. When does the soul get connected to the body?
Day 40.
Day 40. Right. That's when life begins.
6 weeks.
Right.
So that's when
That's why the whole question of abortion, anti-abortion, the whole question is it's a silly argument. A woman's right to choose, a woman's not right. The whole arguments are crazy because they have nothing to do with reality. What's the question they have to discuss? The question you have to answer is, when does life begin? Right? Because once, right, do I have the right to kill my kids because I'm their parent?
No.
No, right? They're a child. Right? So when does life begin? That's the question that has to be discussed.
40th day.
And so when life begins from conception. So that's the discussion that has
That begins from conception before the soul enters, before the soul connects with the.
yeah, the soul connects on day 40,
Yes.
after conception.
So the life began after conception, before the soul.
Oh, no. So then it's a group of cells. Now it's a group of cells that are going to become a human being, and so therefore it's not just nothing, right? So but it's not when the soul becomes attached.
40th day is? I mean, in ancient times, could they really know?
Of course they can. Come on, guys. We're talking about the rabbis. They know everything.
They knew everything.
What do you think? The rabbis don't know this.
So were they
No.
allowed
Let me
to
explain.
abort?
I'm going to.
Before the 40th day?
So before that's good. So now why, etc. That's to be a compelling reason. But before, there's certainly a difference before 40 days and after 40 days.
Yeah.
Right. So that's certainly a discussion. But that's a discussion that it has to revolve around. Right. There are really only a couple of days that a woman can become pregnant. Okay. And every cycle there's only a couple of days that she can become pregnant. Right. So even now we kind of you really know.
So we work backwards.
Right. So that's why it's very simple in that aspect. What was your question?
So it's not alive until the 40th day.
So it's correct. That's when it becomes a spiritual being, right? Which is really what a human being is. It's a spiritual being with the body, but that's when the soul and the body become attached.
So if they abort a baby after 40 days, is that murder?
So that's a discussion. That's where the discussion has to be
From
revolved.
a Jewish point of view.
Is that right? It's very, very problematic.
Let me ask you a question. So
Yeah.
let's say you're in the middle of the mountains, there's nothing to eat, and you and your child. Are you allowed to eat your child? Because you're
Yes.
hungry.
Do what?
No, the question becomes if you're on a desert island and somebody dies, can you eat the corpse? And she says, yes, you can.
It's your son.
But you can't.
Hold on. Could you kill him?
No.
He's dead. Your son is alive or dead.
He's alive.
And so
You're hungry.
And so maybe your son could eat you. And it's a human being. You can't kill a human being.
That's right.
Right? And you can't kill a human being, period. Now,
For
once a
any
person
reason.
dies, right, that becomes another question. Could you eat a corpse? Right? And corpse usually not kosher. Corpse usually not kosher. Right? And so therefore we generally frown upon people eating corpse. Right? But then you're talking about where you're gonna die, you're gonna eat a corpse, right? You do lots of things if you're gonna die.
But it came from you, it came from your soul.
Okay, and so therefore what? He's dead, the soul left.
Yeah, but if you don't bury him, then his soul won't return.
No, right. So again, right, when all these extenuating circumstances, right, there's all sorts of different rules.
So would you bury
This
him?
is a
Right, but that's it. Okay, let's go back. Okay, free will. Let's go back to this. Okay, free will. In order to have free will, okay, in order to have free will, you have to go ahead and you have to have an evil inclination. Because you don't have an evil inclination, of course, we're going to do what God wants. Right? So we're going to do what God wants. So absolutely, right? There's no question about it. You do what God wants. You do what God wants. Right? And so therefore, you need an inclination in order to have free will, and therefore that's why it's called Tov Ma'od. Not just good, but it's very good. Because otherwise the world is going to mess up. Remember, the whole purpose of this world is so that we can come down here and we can choose to have a relationship with God.
Is the evil going to finish one day?
Yes, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Man, and it's fascinating. I'll tell you something fascinating about the evil inclination. Okay? Like this. How big is your evil inclination?
Big.
In check.
So the answer is like this. The answer is, it depends how spiritually strong you are. Says the Talmud. Listen to this story. This is an amazing idea. The Talmud says at the end of days, after the Messiah comes, God's going to make a big party. And God is going to reveal to each person their evil inclination. Okay, mine's going to be one big, what's it called? One big,
Barbecue.
yeah, barbecue. No, yeah, it's a barbecue. I was going to say it's the custard. It means like the Pillsbury boy, like the custard.
You like
Okay, yeah,
custard
custard,
more than
yeah.
vodka?
I don't know. So so what happens, right? So what happens at the end of the day is everyone's going to get revealed to them their evil inclination. And the righteous people are going to cry, and the wicked people are going to cry. The wicked people are going to cry because their evil inclination is going to be like a white thread. It's going to be like a white thread. And they're going to say, how can I not overcome a white thread? And the righteous people are going to cry because their evil inclination is going to be this big hulk. And they say, how was I able to overcome this humongous, the ones with the muscles behind the ears, right? This evil inclination. How was I able to overcome, right? How was I able to overcome, right? This big hulk.
The help of God.
And so, right, both are going to cry. Now, the person would say, wait a second, I don't get it. The evil inclination seems to be mixed up. What size is the evil inclination of a wicked person?
Small.
A small little tiny white thread. And how big is one for the righteous person?
A big hope.
Big hope, but shouldn't it be just the reverse?
No.
Right, that the wicked
No.
person has the hope.
Because the guy with the big hope was stronger than.
Oh, very good. So what happened was, because somebody who's spiritually strong, their evil inclination has to be busy. He's busy working out. See, you're all sitting here nicely and right, and you're learning some Torah. Do you know where your evil inclination is right now?
Having ice
Working
cream.
out in
No, not having ice cream. He's busy working out at the gym.
Yeah.
He's saying, I got to get stronger because you're getting stronger, right? Right? Now, the guy who's sitting back and watching Monday Night Football instead of being here,
Yes.
and you know who you are.
Not me.
No, I'm talking to Facebook. No, you're here. It's good. You get points, right? So where is their evil inclination?
On the couch.
Yeah, he's at the bar having another margarita. You see, when a person starts to learn Torah, you know what happens? The evil inclination is very unhappy. Because for the first 40 years, 50 years of the life, he's been sitting on the beach, drinking margaritas. Right? All of a sudden now, right, he's got to go to the gym, he's got to start working out. Right? Because as you begin learning, right, he's got to start bulking up too. And he's got to go ahead, he's got to get to a place where he's going to be able to overcome, right? To overcome to what you become. So the evil inclination, God created us with the evil inclination. Evil inclination is very important. It's very important to be there, and it's very important to ignore him and not listen to him.
Why would the tzaddik cry? I mean, he should be very proud that he beat this big
Right, but
giant
he's
hulk.
going to be so overwhelmed, right, that his evil inclination was so strong. Right? Because he say, how could I beat him? Right? There's no way I could beat him. Right? He's a Hulk. There's no way I could beat him. Right? And so but that's what it is. And is that our job in this world is to do the right thing. And the problem is we always have the evil inclination floating around making sorrows. Right? Making problems for us. And we have to learn how not to how to make problems. And not to listen.
So Moshe, Abraham, all these prophets, did they have evil inclinations?
Their evil inclinations were giants. They were giants. Right? It's all about right. They were humongous.
200 feet high.
And they're huge. Huge.
The holier the person, the bigger the inclination.
Yeah, sure.
So it's the bigger the fight.
Right, sure. Of course, right? Because if somebody's strong and you give them the little matchstick, break them in half.
So how could he be a prophet? How could he lead people?
How could
He lead people.
How could he lead people? Because he was so strong.
So
He was so spiritually strong.
Did Abraham ever succumb to his evil inclination?
Sure. Remember, our prophets, right, are not saints. We don't say they're perfect. And Judaism, that doesn't make you great. Being perfect does not. In fact, I'll tell you something fascinating. There are 4 people in the world that died without sin. 4.
4 people?
4 people in the world that died without sin.
Since the creation.
Since the creation, all the way up to the times of the Talmud. And I'd hazard a guess that since then we haven't had anybody either. But okay, right, there are 4 people.
What are they?
Methuselah's
No. Who are they?
Noah?
Epstein.
No.
No, it wasn't Noah.
What is your problem? He's here.
He was complimenting me. But way off base. If I don't sin for a minute, I'm happy.
David Amelech.
David Amelech.
Yeah, was he?
Absolutely not.
Why don't you let
What?
him tell us?
No. What?
He's not going to tell us unless we guess.
Yeah, if you don't guess it,
Can't
no.
guess.
Sure you
Gabriel?
can. What?
Gabriel?
Gabriel.
Who was he?
Which one, Gabriel?
The
And the angel?
Gabriel's an angel.
No, he's an angel. It doesn't count. Angels are all perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Moses?
Moses? No.
no, he wasn't allowed to
the
Israel.
son of
Aaron.
somebody that was really good.
No, so the answer is like this. I'm going to tell you four.
Please.
One was King David's father, Jesse. Yishai.
Yishai.
How much do you know about Yishai?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay. King David had a son also, Caleb, not the Caleb in the Torah, right? Who was also completely righteous.
Whose son?
King David's son,
Caleb.
Caleb.
Was
Not the Caleb that we talk about all the time. You don't know. You don't
The
know.
son, the
You don't know about this Caleb.
Okay.
Why don't we?
Awesome. We're going to get to that.
That's why we
That's why we're here. Number three is Hanoch, Enoch. Right? We're going to see. Right, the Torah is going to talk about him, that he was perfect, so God took him. And number four is, I think, Benjamin. Okay.
Enoch was before Ishai, though. He was.
Yeah. I went
Was
back.
your son Benjamin named after him?
That's interesting. He was named after actually my father-in-law's father. But it could be that's Benjamin is.
Benjamin was.
These four are completely sinless.
Right.
Not Moses, not Aaron, not Abraham, not Isaac, not Jacob.
Ishai.
If you want to go, Enoch, Benjamin, Yishai, and Caleb. Right? The reason, but don't worry about that. Don't sweat too much.
I'm trying to remember it.
The reason for it?
The reason for that is as
Next
follows.
year you're gonna ask
If
me
you
the
want to,
same
I am. If you sit in your corner and you want to just be holy and just work on yourself, you can do that. And you'll be holy. If you want to go out into the world and change the world and affect people, you're going to sin. Right? Look at Moses. Where did Moses sin?
He killed the Egyptian.
That was a big mitzvah.
The rock.
Oh, he hit the rock. Why did he hit the rock?
Because God said tap it.
No. Why?
He was angry.
He was angry at the Jewish people.
Right.
Right? Because he said, "You guys, we've been 40 years in the desert, and you're still fetching about God."
Fetching about
Right?
everything.
And he lost it.
I got a nation.
Right? They got a nation that fetches. Right? You've been there for 40 years, and you still listen. You rebellious bunch of bums. Right? That's what he says.
Yeah.
Right? And he loses it.
And he hits
Right?
the rock.
And he hits the rock. Right? Amazing.
Instead of talking.
Instead of talking to it. Now again, if he didn't have to deal with the Jewish people, would Moses have sinned? Absolutely not.
This
Right,
is after
so-
Miriam died. There was a rock that used to follow them around. That was
Right.
Miriam's rock.
Hmm.
And so when they needed water, she would just point
No, the water flowed constantly from that water.
from that
It
rock.
was from that rock. It was a continuous water. That's the first Rolling
Because the
Stone.
rock
by the way.
I think the rock wasn't the reason why he wasn't allowed.
Yeah, right. Good water. So you remember that? We'll talk about that later. Right, but again, Moses only sinned because he was interacting with people.
Right.
And then people made him so they finally got underneath his skin. You know what I'm saying? Like, Moses
After
like the
40
patience of a
years.
saint, and then finally he just lost it. Like the answer is because when you go to make a difference, when you're involved with people, that's when you sin.
So it's a good sin in a way.
And so also very good.
You are-
So what would God rather have? A Moses or a Jesse or a Yishai?
A Moses.
Right?
Yishai.
Well, take a look in the Torah. Who are the heroes of the Torah?
The Torah is Moses.
Moses. Right?
And I
You
thought
let the
that's
heroes.
why David had to have sins too, because really a king can't be. He has to be something that people can aspire to.
Now, one of the reasons why David might have been King David was because he had a father who was Jesse. Right? Jesse himself, right? You know what I'm saying? Like the merit of Jesse was great. Therefore, he went ahead and he had a King David. Right? But it's very fascinating, and we have those choices, right? We could, right? Is that could get into a place where we can mess up.
So if somebody does a thing because they really tried something to do good and it was a mistake.
Right. But you tried. You tried to do the right thing. Bingo. You're okay. Now, it's interesting. So now, right, what about are all choices between good and evil?
No.
Yes.
And so the answer is like this. Whether you're going to have chocolate ice cream or vanilla ice cream.
No, that's not good.
That's right. Whether you're going to have chocolate ice cream or vanilla ice cream, that's not what we call a free will decision. Assuming they're both kosher, right? Whether you have chocolate ice cream or not, right, or vanilla ice cream, that doesn't matter. That's not a free will decision. A free will decision is a place where there's a moral, okay, where there's a moral choice, okay, that people make. Okay, when it boils down to, am I making the right moral decision? Right? That's a place where things go ahead and we come to a choice of good and bad, right, and good and evil, right, is where there's a moral decision that's involved. There's a moral decision, that's when I get to make a choice.
Eat a non-kosher hamburger.
Oh, right, okay, I'm hungry and I'm driving by McDonald's, and what happens?
And I didn't eat breakfast.
And I'm hungry and I know I could just kind of, well, even if we did eat breakfast.
My blood sugar's sinking.
Right, or Jews always have a second thing. 99 cents for a Whopper, it's like it's a mitzvah to buy it. It's like, that's always what I think, like, is, it's like too good of a deal to pass up, like we gotta make sure we get it, right? We got, right. It's just, I buy it just for the deal. It's just such a good deal.
I think Woody Allen
I didn't eat it, Rabbi, I just bought it, I just had to, right? It was such a good deal.
Like Woody Allen said under the Ferris wheel, he said, "Is that a sin for you?" She said, "Sure." He said, for me, I'm a Jew. It's only if I buy retail.
Right, but that's right. But that's what it is, right? So now we have a free will decision. Are we going to go and do it, or are we not going to do it? Right? That's where free will decision, right? And which is fascinating because really, the only way to make a free will decision. Okay, now listen to this. This is what I'm about to tell you now is the Talmud says the only people who are free in this world are people who study Torah. Let me repeat that. The only people that are free are the people that study Torah.
What are the others?
All the others. I read the statement and I thought to myself, hold on, it seems to be counterintuitive, right? And people say, oh, you religious people, you guys are just robots. You just do what God tells you. You're not free. I'm free because I can do whatever I want.
I've heard that before.
Right? You've heard that before, right? So what I tell people is like this. Listen to this. And the Talmud says the other way around. So who's right, the people or the Talmud? Talmud. Excellent. But now you got to understand why. Okay. So the Talmud says like this. It's an amazing idea. The Talmud says the only way to have a free will decision is to study Torah. Why? Because what is a free will decision? A free will decision is, God wants you to do X,
you do Y,
and you want to do Y,
and you pick X.
And now you make a decision.
And you can only pick the right decision if you know what the right decision is.
Ah, very good. And the only way to make the right decision is to know what God wants you to do. If you don't know what God wants you to do, right? So, right, let's say somebody, right, that doesn't know what God wants him to do, right? The person who said, Rabbi, I'm the slave and he's the free man. Isn't it so amazing how people have the whole world backwards? The evil inclination has him convinced that he's free and I'm the slave. When in reality, I'm free and he's the slave. Right? So, right, because what does he do? Whatever he wants to. Excellent. So which means he's enslaved. And how does he decide what he wants to do? Whatever feels good. Right? Whatever will make him feel the best. Right? And so therefore he's enslaved to himself. So the only way to not be enslaved to yourself is to do what? The only way to be enslaved, right? The only way to be not to be enslaved to yourself is to say, God wants me X, I want to do Y. And now I have to make a decision, am I going to choose X or Y? Right? And so therefore the only way for a person to become free is to study Torah. Right? Isn't that amazing? Right? It's such, so good. When you finally understand the piece of Talmud, it's like the light bulbs go on and like you hit the buzzer, you hit the jackpot, right? But that's what the Talmud's saying. Such an amazing line. So how many people are walking around slaves? Everybody. How many people are studying Torah? Few. Right? Right, but only by studying Torah can you become free. Because otherwise you don't have the right decision to make. And therefore you have to study Torah in order to make the right decision.
Otherwise, you're just operating out of instinct.
I mean, in that instinct, you're enslaved to your body.
Yeah.
Right? You're a robot. Right? But not such a good robot. Right? Because the decisions you're making aren't godly decisions. You're making body decisions.
But Rabbi, we have to survive. I have to work. I have to eat.
Absolutely. And let me.
Why?
Now you don't have to survive. You know what you have to do? You have to thrive. You have to go through life sanctifying God's name. And whatever you do, wherever you are, right? Your job is to go around and sanctify God's name. How do you sanctify God's name? By doing mitzvahs. By going out and working and being honest. Integrity. Right? Going ahead, treating people right. Talking to them properly. Not yelling at people. Not embarrassing people. Talking kindly. Right? That's our job. Right? As we go through life, right? We go through life, that's our job. And we get all these tests because God somehow puts all the bad drivers in front of you. Right? And you're busy yelling and screaming, right? And what does God say? Talk nicely, relax, gently. You're in a rush. Good. And somehow it always seems exactly when you're in the biggest rush that the poorest drivers are around you.
Yeah.
Right?
Longest supermarket.
Right, longest supermarket line, right? You know, I tell people, I said, you make a mistake. I said, you see, you think you go shopping in the supermarket, right? You think you go shopping to get your groceries. See, that's a mistake. You know why you go shopping?
To read the tabloid.
Is that why your line always takes such a long time? Right? Why do you go shopping? You go shopping in order to sanctify God's name. So let me explain to you what happens. Okay? You're heading to the checkout register.
Yeah.
And there's that little old lady in front of you who's doing the shopping for the whole community. And she's inching towards the checkout. And you get stuck behind her.
Yeah.
You're going to be there for an extra long time. All of like 3 minutes. And you're heading to them. You know you're faster than her. And you know you can kind of slide in front of
Ahead of her.
Ahead of her.
Yeah. Or push her out of the way.
Or push her right. All right, run her over. Right?
You saw me.
What? Right? And, I asked Tom to give me the closed circuit TV camera so I can kind of right, head for the checkout line, race to the finish. Right? And you have the chance now to make a Kiddush Hashem. To sanctify God's name. And you get there first. And you say, please go in front of me.
Yeah. I did that one time and this guy bought me my groceries.
Really?
Really?
Right?
Because he had 2 little kids with him.
Right. I feel bad for whoever gets stuck behind me. Right?
I would too.
Yeah, right. I walk into the store and I go shopping. I'm going to make the trip to the store. I'm going to make sure that I get my gas mileage and make it worth it. Right? So I make sure that I'm going in, I'm buying and then I turn around. There's a guy behind me with 2 things. I just send them, said, please go ahead in front of me. My wife, because you think you go to the store to get food. And it's a mistake. You go into the store to sanctify God's name.
What's a different perspective on it?
Right? I mean, you walk up to the cash register. How hard is it to say hello to the person who's checking you out? How hard is it to say please and thank you? And thank you for your service. Right? Right? Is it that hard?
Not hard.
Right? Not hard at all. You must put the person on hold that you're talking to. Right, to do that, right? Or you're in the parking lot, right? And you want to help somebody, or you're running for that last space. And the car in front of you comes to you. Let him in, or do you take it?
It depends how one was brought up.
Okay, no. That was till today. That was your answer, boys. From today on.
Well, what did Boris just say?
It depends how you were brought up. Now,
how you were brought up and what's your genes?
No. So
if you born evil, you born.
No. Most people don't think. Then
Boris, I'm surprised at you.
Really?
For what you said.
No. So what happens like this, Boris, is you go ahead and you have a choice now to make. But it's always, you got to keep your head in the game. You got to make sure that you're doing right? That why, right? What are you doing? What are you trying to do?
Yeah, but these good choices only kind people do it. You don't see
No,
mean people doing
no,
these
no,
good
but
choices.
it's not even.
How do you know who's mean and who's kind?
Yeah, no, it's not.
Are you
Okay.
Hashem?
No. It's not even a question of mean, and it's a question of thinking, right? Make sure, don't lose, right? Perspective, right? That's what it's because we'll just do it because we're doing it, right? We're not even paying attention, right? And what's our job? Our job is to go ahead and to do the right thing, right? To understand what we're here for. And if we understand, right, you go to work, absolutely. You need to go to work, right? That's part of what God created it. But now you have a job to do, right? Now you have to go ahead and now you have to say, okay, what's my job? My job is to sanctify God's name. How do I go about doing that? How do I go about sanctifying God's name? Right? What's my opportunities? When you're out there in the world and you're working, you have a lot of opportunities.
So do you think the evil or mean person thinks that way?
No.
So that's my point.
Yeah, no, right. But again, so you see, generally, I would say evil is somebody who intentionally does something bad.
Mean?
Yeah, mean. These people consciously. This person is not conscious of it, right? And so you know what I'm saying, like he doesn't think.
The evil one.
No.
The mean one?
Generally, I would say somebody who's evil, somebody who purposely goes to cut somebody off.
Right.
That's it. Somebody who's just not thinking, just cutting people off because he wants to get in the last spot.
Because his nature.
In nature, very right. So I wouldn't call that an evil person. I would call that somebody who's not thinking.
He's inconsiderate.
Inconsiderate, right? He's not ready. Right?
And what makes him? Then what makes him evil?
No. Right. So now I'm taking a step back. So now I'm saying is that really, in reality, as we go through life, right? As we go through life, we have these opportunities. Right? We have these opportunities as we go through life to go ahead and to make these choices and to choose what we do.
Yes.
And the only reason we have those choices, right? The only reason we have those choices is because as we go through life, right, and we make those choices, right, now we have to stop and think why we're doing and what we're doing. And learning to do those things and learning to make those right decisions and the right choices, that's what life is all about.
So how, for example, how does my soul and your soul cross path each other? I mean, how do we find each other in our soul?
How did we find each other? So the answer is so you made a choice. You made a choice that you're going to come and you're going to start learning Torah. You made a decision, you're going to come for Shabbat, and you showed up. Right? So you made that decision. You made a soul decision. Now again,
when I took the class, I didn't come for the class. I came for something else.
Right. So again, right, okay. Right. So what might have motivated you might not have been the most altruistic thing. It might have been for many reasons, right? All of us here, we have many reasons why we come to class, or many reasons why we come to Shabbat. Right? We all have different reasons, right? But ultimately, at the end of the day, right, we're trying to purify our thoughts and our actions and get to a place of where we're doing them for godly reasons, right? To go ahead and to choose to do them, right? To go ahead and to make those godly decisions, and that's our choice to go ahead and to make those. To make those godly decisions.
So how do I bring danger to myself?
How do you
bring danger to yourself?
Danger? You bring danger to yourself by A, not thinking, and B, is by making poor decisions. Right? That's exactly how you go.
Behind in traffic is how you endanger yourself.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Certainly in Texas, I'm going to have a gun. Right. But that's the answer. The answer is by the different choices that we make. Yeah.
You know, every profession has like a code of ethics. There's the canons of judicial ethics. We have the AICPA code of professional ethics. When you study these ethics, you find out that they're in total agreement with what the Talmud says about what's right and wrong. There's very few codes that are evil codes.
Correct.
They're really they say they're all confined to trying to make the world better.
You see, the answer is on a surface level, yes. Once you start getting a little more sophisticated, right? And really, what happens? I'll explain to you what the problem is.
Yeah.
Okay, because everyone's trying to do better, right? Generally, right. And even a Hitler, right, was trying to do what he thought was better. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, rarely people go out and say, I'm going to mess people up. Right? You know what I'm saying? Right? And so the question becomes, how do you find right and wrong? So as long as you have a Torah that you go back to and you understand what is right and wrong, so then at that point in time, it's very clear what is right and wrong. Right? And then what happens is, like in America today, the sad thing that I see happening in America today is that people are making the decisions, okay, their choices of right and wrong, and how they're choosing right and wrong. They don't understand where it comes from. And therefore they're arbitrarily putting things up, or, you know, if two people want it, it's okay. You know, two consenting adults, it's fine, right? And there's no, well, what does God say about it? Right? And what happens is they begin rewriting what the Torah says, right? Meaning that what happens is that we've lost where our moral code comes from. And therefore, it's what with people feel, if whatever people want, it's fine as long as you don't hurt somebody else. Right? Whatever it is, right? They go ahead and they make up their own rules, and then they go ahead and they make them that those are the rules.
Well, like the Hippocratic Oath, isn't that a good oath?
And
to save life?
No. So again, right? It's a Hippocratic Oath. So now it's so again, Hippocratic Oath, right? Is again, it's probably longer than
this. It's about kindness.
Right.
To save somebody's life is a kindness.
No, absolutely, it's a big kindness. Right. Again, as long as the person is righteous and moral. Right. If he's somebody who's not, I'm not sure it's such a mitzvah to do that.
So everything was done in this world with a purpose. Even the evil and mean people who were put on this earth is to contrast the good people.
Or they had the ability to choose to do right.
The bad people?
Yeah. Nobody's born bad. You might be born that you have a pull, right, to do bad.
More inclination.
More right. Your inclination might be stronger. But at the end of the day, everyone has to take responsibility for themselves to do the right thing. Right? To go ahead and to choose to do the right thing. Right? That's our job. And our job is to make those right, to struggle with it.
So that's the difference between good people, because they are overcoming their bad inclination, and the bad people don't overcome.
Oh, right. And so now I want to show you something. Now I'm going to make it a little more sophisticated.
Yes.
Okay. Good. Okay. Now let me make it a little more challenging. Okay. Okay. Now let me ask you a question like this. Let's just use a scale of 1 to 100. Okay. So the person who has a scale of doing bad of 10.
Yes.
And overcomes the 10. Do we call them good or bad? Good. Let's say somebody has 100. He was created with all the bad.
Bad.
And he struggles with it, and he gets it down to an 80.
You mean he gives in?
He gives in. But not right away. He struggles with it, and he went down from 100 to an 80. Do we call him bad or good?
Good.
That's very interesting. His actions are terrible. But his intentions, he went from 100 to an 80.
So it's good.
He's better than the good person.
No.
Why not?
If you look at the sum of it, he's still an 80. The good person's a 0.
The good person went from a 10 to a 0. He only went down 10. He went down from 100 to an 80. He went down 20.
It's not the distance; it's where you are.
No. Incorrect. That's what the Torah says.
It's the distance.
It's the distance where you go.
So he gave the honest part.
Right. So therefore, listen to this. So you can never judge a person. Right? How do you know where he comes from and where he's going to? Right? How do you know? You don't know what evil inclination they had. You don't know what upbringing they had. You don't know whether they struggled and then they failed. You don't know if they didn't struggle at all. You don't know if he was just born just to be just a nice guy.
Yeah, it's the difference.
Right? Who knows that? There's only one human. There's only one being, and that's God. And that's what the Talmud says. The only one who can judge is God. What do we judge by? So it's very interesting. So, but we live in a world.
Deeds.
So the answer is we boil it down to deeds.
Yeah.
Might we boil it down?
You mean to say that Hitler might be judged to be good?
Meaning what I'm saying is we don't know.
Well, for the first 20 years.
The answer is that if I saw Hitler, I would shoot him dead.
Me too.
Right? If I saw, I'd shoot him dead in a second. Right? And actually, if I shoot him again, just to make sure he's really dead. Right? You know what I'm saying? Right? But again, but who knows? I'm saying one clear point. Who knows what he started with and where he went? Right? Nobody knows. Nobody can know that. It's in the unknowable.
But if it's known that this person, specific person, Hitler or anybody else, can commit and harm and do all the horrible crimes, then this person must be prevented from doing it.
Excellent. Must be prevented from doing it.
Yeah.
Might forfeit their life for doing it. Right? But ultimately, because that's what the Torah says, this is how you have to deal with such a person. Right? But ultimately what happens, that's God's decision, it's not ours. Right? Because we don't know.
So we're looking at like a snapshot as opposed to a movie.
And knowing, and what happens is we know so little. Right? We know so little what goes on in people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're clueless. And I find it fascinating that we're busy putting out value judgments when we're clueless. Right? And so therefore, if we're clueless, okay, right? Then there's a certain mode of behavior we expect. In a certain way we expect people to behave. Now, some people might be easier to do that way, some people might be harder to do it. Right? But there's a certain conduct that we expect. But who really is putting up the fight and who's just born that way? We have no clue.
There is a limit for forgiveness, there is a limit for for goodwill and forgiveness if it's constantly over and over and over again from the same person.
No. That's certain behavior is not acceptable. But the good and the bad, or how much a person has struggled, we don't know. Yeah.
What was it, Ishmael, at the time that he prayed to God? God said, he might be later in his lifetime
I'm going to be wicked.
But at the time...
Yeah, very good, yeah, Ishmael. Yeah, he was 17, right? It was at the well. Right at the well, right? He was, right? He was 16 years old. Angel said he's going to be wicked. He's going to do bad things to Jewish people, but God said, but right now he's righteous, right? And so if we have to judge it, yeah, sure, right? But that's what takes place. That's why it's something that's so difficult, right? And that's why it's something that's impossible to know. And something in which, in point in time, we really have no clue to do.
But Ishmael made Shuvah when
and Yishmael, and just parenthetically, Yishmael spends most of his life being righteous.
Yeah.
You know that he was most.
The end?
Yeah, sure. At least, and he was clearly the last 87 years of his life he was righteous.
So he died righteous.
Yeah. Man, it's just fact. It's I'm going to explain to you why. Everybody. There's always an exception to prove the rule. Everybody is complicated.
Yeah.
Everybody is a human being. And every human being is different and is unique. And each one of us are put here in this world for our uniqueness and what we need to do with our uniqueness. Right? And to learn how to best use our uniqueness. Okay, and to go ahead and to learn how to use it and how to become the best me I can become. Right? That's what this world is all about. And instead of judging other people, right, our job is to look at ourselves and for me to become the best me I can become.
Well, we kind of judge them, not judge, but making our opinions by the set of standards. We know how to...
Correct, and sometimes we should not be doing that. But that's what we do. And we have to learn not to do that. We have to learn to, right? Remember, you have two eyes. You know why you have two eyes? You have a good eye and you have a bad eye. A critical eye. Your good eye is meant for everybody else. And your critical eye is meant how you look at yourself. I'm going to repeat that. You have two eyes. You have a critical eye and you have a good eye. Your good eye is meant to look at everybody else. Your critical eye is meant how to look at yourself. Because if you don't look at yourself critically, you don't grow. Right? You go ahead, right, it's everyone else's fault. Right? And we live in a society where everyone is always blaming somebody else. Nobody's taking responsibility. Man, it's learning how to take responsibility for ourselves is what this world is all about. So we have a good eye for everybody else, and we have a critical eye for ourselves. The problem is we reverse the two eyes. We use the critical eye on everybody else, and we use the good eye on ourselves.
That's why the Shana Rise.
And that's really our job is to get over that and to learn, right? To learn to use the good eye on everybody else. Right? Look for the good. right? Look for the good, right? That's what it's about,
But
right?
what helps us to maintain the objectivity is the set of standards.
We
the set of standards on which
choose. We choose how.
what's good and bad. That's
Right.
how we. Otherwise we wouldn't know what to stand on in this world.
Right.
So this set of standards.
So the Torah gives it to us. The Torah tells us how we're supposed to look at people, and our job is to look at it, and our job is to look at the Torah, right, and to learn from the Torah, right, the right way, right, the good way to act, right, the proper way, right. That's our job in this world. Okay, folks. The good news is we almost finished chapter 1. We have last. No. We got 6 words left. We'll finish them now. We're not going to finish now because that's going to take us another. Right. So we'll see you all same bad time, same bad station. Before you go, don't forget the data dinner is in a month from tonight. Right, a month from tonight, Monday night, December 11th. Anyone looking for a table host? Somebody who wants to help fill up a table. And we'll see you all same bat time, same bat station.
Monday?